Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming on this year. Without further ado, let's get right into this one. The guest I have on today is very, very well decorated. He's done a lot in a lot of different industries. And it's funny how I met him. So my buddy Brandon, public speaking coach, he's been on the podcast quite a few times. He was hosting an event for like public speakers, kind of like open mic, but instead for speakers, right? So instead of us doing comedy skits, we were just all doing like mini keynotes. And so, it was a Sunday evening. I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I have church in the morning. In the afternoons, I wasn't doing much. So I was like, yeah, I'll be there. Come support. And I ended up meeting the guest that we have coming on today. Got to hear him speak, connected. And fast forward a little over a month. Now we're here live on the show. So for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to meet you, to get to know you yet, tell us your quick elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Ngo Okafor. I am a two-time Golden Glove boxing champion, founder of 28 Days Greater, a 28-day mind and body transformation program, owner and CEO of Iconoclast Fitness, the premier one-on-one training gym in New York City.
All right. And so we're going to get into all that good stuff. But like I mentioned earlier, I love hearing people's walk to wealth, right? So take us back
Yeah.
in a time machine, Ngo, and what was little Ngo like growing up? I kind of heard because heard your story, but for anyone who hasn't
hmm
listened, what was little
Yes.
Ngo like? What was it like growing up, man? Were you always this entrepreneurial, positive, upbeat, in shape guy? Or like, what was it like growing up?
Well, growing up, I was completely different.
Yeah.
Like I was always the skinny kid, the sick kid. I had asthma. I had all kinds of respiratory
No
issues.
way.
So I was the opposite of what I look like now. I was not strong. I was in and out of the hospital, and it wasn't until I was 13, 14 that it just went away. Like I outgrew it. And when I did, it was when I feel like my life began.
Hmm.
I just felt like I'd missed out on so much. When I was younger, like I didn't play sports like the other people did, like all the other
Hmm.
kids did. I didn't live a full life like the other kids did. So I just was like, okay, I have this newly found freedom of this life that I don't even know about. So I'm going to do it all. I'm going to do everything. So basically, I grew up this was in Nigeria. I My parents were super strict. It was religion and education, and I just felt like there was more to life than that. So I decided, okay, if I get into college, they can't hold me back. I have to go away to go to college. So at 15, I took the entrance exams to college. And in Nigeria, you can take, at any age, you can take the entrance exams and you can, if you pass them well enough, you can get into college. So I was tall and I felt like I could fit in. So I took the entrance exams and I passed them and I got into college. And at 15 and a half, I was on campus.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of my life. Like, going to parties, meeting girls, like doing all of the things that I dreamt of doing as a kid that I didn't do. It was just for me just so eye-opening, like
Hmm.
like this world that's out there that everybody else is enjoying except for me. So I just started trying everything and got into a fraternity and partied, just did everything.
Yeah.
And by the time I was 17, close to 18, I was like, okay, I want to start over
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I didn't really go to class. I was not there to study. Like I was there to live. I was there to experience, every kind of fun that there was. Like I
Yeah.
was playing basketball there, just doing everything
Yeah.
besides schoolwork. And and
Well,
at the age of 8, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, well, to be fair, there's a lot of people who are doing that in high school and don't get a chance to actually be free until instead of spending 15 to 18 partying, they're spending,
Hmm.
18 to 21, 22 partying before they,
Yeah.
have to get into the real world. So, man, so
Hmm.
that's an interesting concept. I didn't know that it was like that in Nigeria. I've interviewed quite a couple Nigerians. One of the guys I interviewed, um, I forget if he's from Nigeria or from Cameroon. I forget, but he's a founder of a you know what Calendly is? Well, of course you know what Calendly is. You booked it for time for this
Hmm.
podcast. He has pretty much a Calendly
Yeah.
alternative. So he has a he has a startup,
Ah.
and so he's creating the application for that. But he's a very cool dude too. You would like him, but that's a very interesting concept. I've never heard that before of you know being able to take the entrance exam at any age as
Early.
long as you pass, you could potentially be eligible to go. I think definitely that'd
Yeah.
be a very interesting thing if it were applied here in the U.S. because there's some people who are, you see like news stuff like people like the, kids getting into college at like 15, but like, they were put
Hmm.
in like some like super rigorous like, either private institution or homeschooling program that accelerated all their
Exactly.
learning and stuff like that. But that's like very minor cases here in the States. So that's a very interesting thing. So you had a whole bunch of fun from 15 to 18, and then you finally had what would be like a midlife crisis or even a quarter life crisis. This is like a well, I don't even know what
It's like
a
the beginning. I
freaking
don't even. It's like
a 1/10
like,
life crisis.
but
Like,
but the crazy thing is like I packed so much life in those 2.5 years
yeah.
that I was like, okay, like reset and do something for real. Like it was so intense with just life and just enjoying and doing every single thing, anything that came to my mind, I did because I was just completely free, and I did it all, and I
Mm-hmm.
still, you know what it is, like I wasn't fulfilled. I did all those things that I dreamt of doing, and I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled, and I just was like, I want to start over. And when I came to the US and got into college, I still wasn't fulfilled. I was in college for 3.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, if I if I put my mind to something, especially education wise, like I can figure it out and get it done. So I wasn't super challenged with education. It wasn't what I still wanted to live, and I just never felt like it was enough living. So in college, I was a computer science major, and it
Yeah.
was great, but growing up with African parents, it's engineering, medicine, pharmacy, nursing, everything is about getting a secure job that would pay you, and 9 to 5, so you can have insurance and they take care of you.
Mm.
It's never about being an entrepreneur. It was always about study, go to school, study,
Yeah.
uh, have a major that will guarantee that somebody will hire you when you get out. That was the motto, and everybody was like this, robotic marching towards that. And I just
Yeah.
wasn't my, what wasn't my thing. However, I did it. I left school early, started working doing IT work for the Department of Transportation in Connecticut, and then I got hired by an IT company in New York, and that's how I got to New York. And got laid off shortly after I got to New
Mm-hmm.
York, and I was just like, you know what? I All of this stuff, like this corporate life, is not what I want. It's what my parents want, and it's what I was supposed to be doing. And I
Yeah.
just was like, man, life is too short. Like I'm not, I don't like. I want to. I'm in New York. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna do everything once again. So it all began again, and modeling was always something that I
Yeah.
thought about. Like you look at magazines and you see the dudes, and you see Tyson Beckford, and you see all these guys, and it just seemed like such a fun life. And
Yeah.
I wanted to do it, and I felt like I could do it. And I just, when I got laid off, I just was like, this is an opportunity to just be free and explore everything. So I, I knew that there was a guy at my gym, and I knew he was a photographer, and he was a fashion photographer, shot models. So I was just like, I talked to him and asked him what we could do, and if if he would shoot me. And he said he would shoot me, but he wanted me to get leaner. That's what would put me in the best position to get work. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I trained hard, created like a training program, a training style, trained hard, got lean. I thought I looked great. And went back and he's like, all right, cool. We took pictures,
Yeah.
and I thought the pictures were great, as we all do. We always thinking we're doing great, and then we step out, and I went to like the casting calls and the open calls for the modeling agencies, and they just looked at it and I was like, nope, nope, nope.
Yeah.
It was like no, 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 no. All of them said no. I'm like, damn. Okay, go back. What do I need to do? Get leaner. And I'm like, okay. Went back, trained more. I felt, got leaner, went back out got leaner, took more pictures, went back out to the agencies, and once again, no, 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 no. It was always something like, oh, you're too commercial, or you have too much muscle, or you have too much this, or too much, just not quite right for us. It was like rejection, rejection, rejection over and over and over. Okay,
Hmm.
but I was determined. So I was like, what else can I do? So went back, got even leaner, and it's like it's never fucking enough, So got even leaner, went back out. All of them
Yeah.
said no again, except for one. And I was like, finally, all I need is one. And in my life, everything that I do now is like all I need is one. And then from one, I started working. They would send me out
Yeah.
on auditions and castings, and I booked my first job. And with that, you get confidence, and you're like, wow, I can really do this. And then you just start booking, and you get an agent that really likes you, and they submit you for
Yeah.
things, and then they really push you, and I started working, and that's where that modeling career began. And go ahead.
Really quick, man. You mentioned a lot of good stuff between the last time, between that story right there. The first thing I kind of want to mention that's really stuck out to me is that you mentioned how your parents had a life cut out for you
Yes.
that they wanted you to live, and you realized that life is short, and had to do your own thing. One of the things I talked to some like my friends about, and something I came to the realization,
Mm,
I forget it was a little while ago. I came to the realization, maybe like 5 years ago, that like I think one of the most selfish things that a lot of parents do accidentally, and whether it's for sometimes it's for a lot of times it's with good intent, but
yeah.
they try to live their lives through their children, which is insanely selfish if you think about it. Because like if you're still alive and you're trying to
Mm.
live through your children, that means you're trying to live two lives at the same time. And God only bless you with one. And so like I don't think a lot of times it's for bad intent. I think it's with good intent. Like they want the best for you. They want what's safe and secure and what they think is best for you. But it's like, to your point, like life is short and
For me,
sometimes you just gotta come to the realization like, hey, I'm gonna live this life for me and I
hmm
have this vision. It may not be the clearest vision or the best vision, but I feel something. I'm getting tugged in a certain direction, and I'd be, you know,
exactly.
I'd be dumb to not go pursue it and figure what it is, right? And see if it even is something for me. Because I kind of had that same calling where it's like,
Mm.
I went to college and then Next thing you know, and the freshman year, pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Who on earth would have ever thought a global pandemic would have happened? You know, you went to college, you got to party and have fun, and get a good time. I went to
Back
college
home.
and have fun for a year, and boom, global pandemic, whole world
Yeah.
shut down. Like, yo, there hasn't been a global pandemic in like 100 years.
Hmm.
So like, literally, there's not a single person that's living right
A
now, or there's
pandemic.
very few that's living right now that's lived through the last one and that can remember living through the last one, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, man, like this came out of all the way out of left field, you know. And so I was during this time where I was kind of like, all right, you know, this traditional school thing.
Hmm.
I had a great
Oh,
grades while I was on
nice.
campus. I had a 3.8, you know, a little over like a 3.83 or 3.82, something like that. I was in a couple fashion shows. I had fun, so I was doing my thing, man. I was having fun, going to parties, getting good grades, and like
Mm.
then the pandemic happened. I'm like, well, this isn't really what I signed up for, and there's got to be something else out there. And so I kind of similar to you, kind of felt that calling of like, hey, I don't want to. My grandparents born and raised in Dominican Republic, so they were,
Yeah.
you know, they were born in like a little, I don't know what it's
Hmm.
called, like a little village, I guess you could say, like very, very small town living, you know, very very small town in the sticks out in DR. And so it's similar to your parents, like it's go to school, get good grades, find a good job, and work, and you know and that's it. And so that for me, I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. And you know, thank God, you know,
Hmm.
stubbornness can lead you down a lot of wrong holes, like a lot of wrong paths, and sometimes you know it's bad, but like sometimes a little stubbornness can take you a
Hmm.
long way because when you have that
Of
vision,
course.
if you're not a little stubborn, then you're going to be
Yeah.
easily steered off by anyone who has an opinion, especially anyone that you love that has an opinion of what
Of
you're doing.
course.
So
Of course.
I'm glad that you kind of mentioned that because I think a lot of people feel that,
Yes.
but they don't know how to articulate it for themselves. They don't know how to put it into
Hmm.
words, and so they continue kind of walking that path very robotically until eventually
Hopefully.
down the road
Hopefully
something
they wake
happens where they
up.
finally
You
wake up
know,
and like, hey,
now
I'm not
that I'm a
even living my
parent,
own life. Hopefully,
I
yeah.
see all
Hopefully,
of the
hopefully.
errors in my parents. You know, I see all the mistakes. You see, like you can't
Hmm.
allow your traumas. You can't pass on your traumas. You can't pass on your fears because all of that is fear, you know. And I get it. Like
Yeah.
they came, you know, my dad grew up in
Hmm.
like a, you know, tiny little house, you know, bathroom in the backyard, you know, like nothing, like no electricity, studying with candles and, you know, lanterns, you know, nothing. And education is what what took him from that to my dad has a PhD, he's a Harvard PhD, you know. So from a tiny little village hut to a Harvard PhD, you
Hmm.
know. So I get it, and that worked for him. It doesn't mean that that would be my path, you know. Like,
Hmm.
and we have to trust as parents, we have to
Yeah.
trust that we are raising intelligent people, we're raising capable people who are going to grow up to become adults that will be productive people and creative people and do things that will enhance their lives and enhance the lives of others and enhance the world in general. You know, you got to trust yourself as a parent, and you have to trust your children. You know, fear is never the way to go because you can't really be
Hmm.
creative when you're fearful. You freedom is what creates
Yeah.
is what fosters and nurtures creativity. So if you can free your children mentally and physically, like they could fly, you know. And that's the thing. But a lot of people are not strong enough,
Yeah.
unfortunately, to say, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it. So for that reason, they keep repeating the patterns of their parents and they do what their parents, you know, have convinced them is the way to go. And then when you get to a certain age, you're miserable. You're living a life you don't want. Your parents are wherever they are happy, like, oh, my son is a doctor, or my son is a pharmacist, or my son is whatever the hell they had planned for you, and you're living this miserable life that is not what you wanted, you know. So we have to be strong enough. We have to
Hmm.
believe in ourselves. That's where it starts. You got to believe in yourself. and understand that you have
Yeah.
the strength to figure it out. And then if you make them, there's no mistake. Everything is a learning experience, and you learn and you layer and layer and layer and layer, and it's full. So life is just
Yeah.
full of experiences that will get you to where you to where you're going, and who knows where that is. But if you don't, good.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I think, and to your point, I think a lot of people don't
Hmm.
understand. Like, it's either, you write your own story or someone writes it for you. And the story that someone writes for you,
Exactly.
you might not even like. So you might as well write it yourself. And yeah, you're gonna have some mess
Yes.
ups, but that's why we have editors, right? In the real world,
Hmm.
we call them coaches, right? We call them coaches, we call them mentors, we call them guides, whatever we want to call it. But like, when you write your own story, yeah, you have some mess ups and stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, you're writing your own story, and whether that means starting a business and becoming an
Hmm.
entrepreneur,
Hmm.
or it means just finding a career in something you actually enjoy, not the path that was laid out for you, right? Whatever that could mean for you, but like be the person, right, and take control. And I think once you have that belief, following it up with action, I think,
Yes.
and this is just like a natural human thing. Like we're all in search for the truth, whatever that means, right? We always want to know, like, all right, but where is this going?
Hmm.
Is this gonna get me what I want? Is it gonna get me where I'm going? And sometimes you don't need to know where you're going to get started going. You don't need to know where you're going to get going. Eventually, yeah, you're gonna have to set some goals and get a little bit aligned. But
Hmm.
just to get out and to see, you don't need a GPS. You don't need a compass. You
Yep.
don't need to,
Yep.
set a destination. You just got to leave the
Yep.
harbor, right? Once you're out at the
Yep.
harbor, then you could figure it out. But at least get yourself in the game, get in the ocean, get going somewhere. Like I thought before I went to college, I thought I was gonna go to school, get a degree, and hopefully find a business job that makes some good money that I enjoyed. Right? And then boom, first year pandemic happened. Right? Then like that all just went out the windows, and then right after that, I tried to get into real estate investing. That didn't work out. Then real estate as an agent, that didn't work out. Then I started teaching social media
Mm.
classes, started my podcast, and then eventually stumbled into AI, and then got a little bit of momentum. And so I've been doing that for like 2.5 years. But
Mm.
like that was all like within the span of like 4 years, just like boom, 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 one thing to the next, and it's like
Yes.
not even like little pivot. It's like complete 180. It's like, hey, I'm going this way. All right, turn. Now we're
Mm.
going that way. And I'm still 23, and so like,
This is
I'm
my
not
life. This is my
so hard
life's
pressed
mission.
as to like, hey,
Yeah.
I have this crystal clear vision. Yeah, yeah, I don't have like this crystal clear vision of like, yo, 10 years from now, I'm gonna be in this place with this car, with this house, and stuff like that. And I think that's not a bad thing. I think that getting you visualizing where you want to be, there's a lot of value to it. But for me personally, what I found that worked for me personally is that I just gotta see the next steps in front of me, and I have like shorter term. Like, what can I do this year? Because for me, anything further than a year, I've learned with this whole pandemic thing is like
Yeah.
there's literally no point in planning because you literally will never know what life is gonna throw your way. So like, take care of what you can take care of now, and have some sort of idea or general direction. And like, as I've been going,
Hmm.
life has started, to your point, has started to make more sense. Things are starting to align. Things are starting to like, all right. For example, I got into real estate
Hmm.
investing. That wasn't a thing, but it got me into real estate as an agent. Well, then that wasn't a thing, but it got me into teaching
It,
social media classes for agents. That wasn't, but it got me into teaching AI classes for agents. So like each thing, it wasn't the right thing, but
hmm.
because I didn't stop to figure out whether or not this was the end destination. Like if I had stopped and said, all right, I'm gonna do this one thing, and I'm hard set on it, and closed
But
minded
those
tunnel vision, I
all
would
of
have
those
never
things were the
seen
right
what
things.
was the next thing. And so,
All of
just
those things, exactly.
a hundred percent,
And
a
that's
hundred
the
percent, because it
thing. You
led me to the
have to
next thing.
just be open.
It led me to the
You
next
have
thing
to
and to the
be
next thing.
open and take a step. Take a step.
Yeah, it's a weird like kind of like dance. Yeah, it's like a little dance kind of like because you
Hmm.
have to be focused
Hmm.
enough to commit to something. Because if you're trying everything, it's not gonna work out, right? But like you also have to be open enough to know when it's time to maybe adjust or pivot
The
or
reset
replan,
button.
re-strategize, hit the what's it called? The reset button. And like sometimes so it's kind of like weird. And I don't think there's any like crystal clear sign to know when is when. and when to call it quits and when to call it, when to do an adjustment or when to just slightly pivot or when to just completely scrap
For
up shop and
me,
go another direction.
for
I
me,
don't think
it's
there's
when
a
if I'm
silver
not
bullet to,
happy,
define that. You kind of just have to
I'm
feel it a
done.
little bit.
If I'm not happy doing,
Yeah.
listen, I know I'm not lazy.
Yeah.
I know I'm a hard worker. So if I'm doing something and I don't get any joy from it, I'm done. That's the clear knowledge of
Yeah.
it's over. Because you can't be unhappy doing something and then become happy. It's
Yeah.
if you're not happy, you have to trust yourself enough
Yeah.
to move and do something else. Because that's, for me, it's the pursuit of happiness and freedom. That's what I believe
Yeah.
life is about. And anything that you do
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that to make that happen is what you do. Entrepreneurship, like, a lot of times, like, people think that it's like some, you know something on a mountain somewhere that, like, so far away. But it's so simple.
Yeah.
All you
Yeah.
need is to do something that you love, something that you're passionate about, something that makes you happy, that's something that you feel like, I'm making a difference, because you don't need every human being in the world
Hmm.
to be successful at your business. You need a tiny little percentage of people to have a successful
Hmm.
business. And success is also relative. Like, if you're not comparing yourself to other people, success is relative to you. What makes you happy and what makes you feel content is different from what makes somebody else feel content. Somebody might want, their goal is like, I want, because I
Yeah.
grew up in the house and I had, I was living in one room with eight of my family members. I want to have a mansion because I want to feel like everybody. I want an 8 bedroom mansion because I want everybody in my family to have their own bedroom. You know, so everybody has a reason for whatever it
Have their
is that
own
they're
room. Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever it is that their motivation is. You can't base your motivation on somebody else's. It has to be what makes you happy. What makes you happy, what makes you content, what makes you wake up in the morning
Yeah.
at once and ready to go. And not like you wake up and you're like, fuck, like, I wish I could just lay here and not go out there and encounter that big bad world out there. That's when you should leave whatever it is you're doing and be done. Like, it should be like, it should make you feel childlike,
Yeah.
like I'm more than double your age. I'm 50,
Yeah.
and I still wake up in the morning and I'm like, 4, and it could be 4 a.m., sometimes 3:30, and I'm up and I'm like, all right, let's go do this. I'm excited to be in this. I've been doing this, wow, 18 years, and to still feel, wow, like,
Yeah.
I could learn something new. I could meet somebody new. I can change somebody's life. All of that tells you that you're still on your path and you're still learning and you're still growing. And there's still just so much that you can do because the work is never done. You just keep on growing, you keep on learning, and it just
Yeah.
keeps getting you keep getting better and better as a human being, and that's what keeps you young and sharp and you know just active and it makes life fun no matter how long you live it.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's finding
Okay.
that calling that kind of drives you. Now, I want to challenge you a little bit on that, right? Because I feel like, and you mentioned this before we even press
Yeah.
record. Like, you said that I never have bad days. I just have bad moments, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
I think is a very resilient mindset to have and very helpful, especially if you're gonna get into something
Yeah.
like entrepreneurship, where you're constantly getting thrown curveballs, especially when you're
Yeah.
starting off in entrepreneurship. Here's the part that I want to challenge, though, right? I feel like with everything in life, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship, whether it's relationship, maybe it's picking up a new hobby like boxing when you picked it up
Mm-hmm.
the first time. But there's always gonna be parts that you don't enjoy, parts that kind of suck, and parts that are kind of mundane, right? Of course, there's gonna be
Mm.
parts that get like for me, for example, I love public speaking, bro. Like the thrill, the excitement. I remember my first in person.
Mm.
I remember my first virtual and in person speaking
Mm.
engagement. They were separate days, but I remember both of those days like it was yesterday. Like the moments leading up to it, when I finally, started speaking, like the moments afterwards, like I remember very vividly those 2 days, right? And I could recall them very easily. But there's also points in time where just like, all right, for example, negotiating, the engagements and charging your speaking fee and trying to get people to pay that when you're first starting off as a speaker and stuff like that, or your first time selling from stage and no one buys and stuff like that. Like not every part was good, but again, all that comes with the journey overall. So let me ask you, for those days that the fire isn't as bright, and the light isn't shining as bright, and it's a little gray and a little cloudy. How do you get through those days? Because it could be very easy
Mm-hmm.
to get in a season of like, hey, this sucks. And I'm not sugarcoating it. There's no positive mindset. Like, this is reality right now. I'm in a dry season right now
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks. But like, if you quit, you'll never get out of it, right? And then you're gonna find another thing that you enjoy and you're happy with, and then you're stuck for a moment, and then you get in the dry season, and then you just quit again. So like, how do you kind of combat that, those times where you're not as happy, you're not as joyful, you're not
Mm-hmm.
as upbeat and ready to go, because life is hard. And how do you get through that so you
Like
push through and persevere
life
and get to
is
that
hard,
next stage?
and work
Yeah,
is also work, and work is hard. Like there is no time when it's all you're just floating through life and it's just roses everywhere. Like there are going to be times when you got to get in the gutter and dig and, find the
yeah,
gold. Like you got to grind and it's hard and get up. When I was building this business, it wasn't always fun, but it was always interesting. You know, I loved it. I
mm,
loved so if you look at the pieces of the work, right? I love people. I love talking to people. I love
mm,
learning from people. And I have the gift of this knowledge that I have, this fitness and wellness knowledge that I have. And I love sharing it with people. And I love being able to change somebody's life. Somebody walks into the gym and they're
yeah,
all like, beat up and all mangled up. And I can just from one session and talking to them and sharing my knowledge and my experience on this big life that I've lived, they stand up and they have hope. That to me is everything,
yeah.
makes everything worthwhile. And I
Makes it
don't
worthwhile.
do this for money. Like, and I tell people all the time, like, if I, for is if I hit lotto, I don't play lotto, but if for whatever reason I get a bunch of money, I'm still going to be training people because I love it that much. I believe that I'm a healer. I believe
Yeah,
that my gift is to help people get better, help people live longer. So it's not about the money for me.
mm,
It's about the work for me. It's about the work. It's about every day. It's about all the moments throughout the
no,
day when I'm talking to you or talking to a client or talking to another trainer, advising another trainer who is young and starting out and trying to figure this whole, business out. So for me, it's not about the money. The money, if you're amazing, if you
yeah,
truly that passion that you have, that's what people pay for because that's what they see as what is going to give them that life. That passion you have is what makes them want to be better and want to change their lives. They see how much you love it and they're like, wow, I want to love something a little bit. Maybe I won't love it as much as he does, but I'll love it a little bit more. And that little bit more is all they need to change their lives. So, whatever it is that you're doing,
Yeah.
right? If you truly love it, if you truly will do it for free, but of course, we live in New York City, and life is expensive out here. So, we charge the max and we expect to make the max. But if you are truly passionate and truly believe in what you're doing and would do it for nothing, like when I started in this business, I worked at Equinox, right? When I worked and I was a floor trainer at Equinox, I was making $8 an hour. $8 an hour. I did that for months, but I knew that this is my calling. Like once I walked into the gym, I started talking to clients and I just saw they haven't even worked out with me and I saw the effect that I had on them. I knew that I had something. I knew that I had a gift. And I had the ability to influence people and to change people's lives. And I was hooked, So I just knew that even this $8 an hour is not going to last forever.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this $8 an hour. I'll sit here and I'll do it. But I knew that if I kept on grinding, I kept on pushing, people are going to see the value that I bring and they will pay for that. And that value is priceless and they will pay
Yeah.
for that. So that's like, so for me, I could have somebody come in and call, say some crazy shit, at 7 a.m. and just be a miserable, bring their misery into our session.
Yeah.
That was 7 a.m. And as a human being, it might linger to 8 or 9, but I shake it off and I let it go because somebody else is coming. Another experience is coming, and that experience more
Yeah.
than likely is going to be a good one. So how does it help me to carry that frustration or anger or ill will that that person brought and then give it to somebody else or carry it throughout the day? So for me, I just want to let it go because it doesn't help me. It doesn't make me productive. It doesn't make me feel good. So I let it, I just let it go. Like, listen, this has nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
This was annoying, it was irritating, it was frustrating, whatever. But I'm going to move on because I'm pursuing happiness. I want to be happy. I want to feel good. I want to make people feel good. So it's next. I'm the next, next. So it was a bad moment, but it doesn't have to
Yeah.
color my whole day. And we don't have time. We don't have time for this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
$100%.
life is truly too short. Like if you've ever lost someone close to you, people that have lost someone close to them will really understand how fragile life really is. And you should never dwell on the negative. It
Mm-hmm.
will pass. Positive is right around the corner. It truly is. And I've lived long enough to know that that is a fact. If you
Yeah.
allow yourself to let that
Yeah.
negativity go and believe that positivity is coming around the corner, it's happening. It's coming. And that's how I live my life.
Yeah. 100%. And you mentioned a lot of good points. One of the ones that I want to touch on earlier, which was the original question about, you said the pursuit of happiness, right, is super important. That's kind of like when But then my question to challenge that was, how do you know when to quit something? Because everything's gonna have some stuff that you don't like, and you kind of answer with that was like, well, to have things that are make it worthwhile. Right, everything is gonna have things that suck, but for you, it's talking to the people, healing people, being able to, have them transform both physically and, but also like mentally, emotionally, just have them their whole energy kind of just changed. Like that feeling of fulfillment was enough to carry you through the days where it did suck and you weren't making the money that you wanted, and
Hmm.
you are living in New York, and so right, it's kind of through the roof a little bit, right? And so it's like, but having that thing that made it worthwhile. So I think for anyone listening, right, it's what are the things in what you do that make it worthwhile, and if you can't find anything that makes it worthwhile, then find a way out. Now, that doesn't mean dropping everything and quitting on the spot, or abandoning ship. Like, make a game plan. Like, for me, man, I stayed with my part-time job. I was working at a restaurant. Man, I'd have stayed with that spot for like, my original game plan was to leave in like early 2022, right? I didn't get an opportunity to. I mean, I could have just quit cold turkey, but like, it wouldn't have made any sense financially at all. I didn't get an opportunity to like quit until like around like June 2023. So it was like a year and a half of me kind of going through the motion, like working and grinding it out, doing a dinner shift or a double shift, and then trying to get this business stuff figured out and situated for a while. But like, I kind of had that vision. You said like, are you willing to like push through it? And like, for me, being able to be my own boss, like that, the sight of that made it worthwhile. And so whatever it is for people listening, like, try to find something that makes it worthwhile putting up with it. And if there's nothing worthwhile, find a way out. Make a game plan. Talk to somebody. Find someone that can help you strategize a game plan to get out of what you're currently in and into something that would make it worthwhile. And like, you mentioned earlier about how you were at Equinox as a floor trainer making $8 an hour. People get so shocked when I tell them I never made a penny off this podcast. Like, really, John? You almost have like 300 episodes. I'm like, yeah. I just love doing it. Like, I just love talking to dope people. I mean, I told you on the phone call when we were doing the pre-show call, like, I really don't let people I don't know on the show on anymore. Like, I could, leave the accolades at the door. Great, you have a bunch of accomplishments. I just want to talk to dope people. Life is short. Like, for me, and that's what this podcast is about. It's just like talking to dope people, sharing these stories and how we were able to make it to where we are today and the lessons that we learned. One of my favorite quotes is, a smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So why go through all the stuff that they already gone through when they already gone through it, and they could put you on game. And so, and for me, the AI business, that's what makes me money. That's how I'm able to do this. But like, to your point, you mentioned if it's something that you would do for free, that's how you know you kind of hitting the nail on the head. And for me, podcasting, it's like, man, I see my schedule, I see a podcast interview, and I'm like, alrighty, like, I don't care how tired I am, man. And talking takes a lot of energy, like, because you got to give it a little bit more energy when you talk on a podcast because we're virtual and stuff like that. But like, man, it doesn't matter how tired I am or what went on. Once I have the podcast, I get in a good conversation, and it's like I kind of just forget about what's going on in the world, and I can just be here and be present. So I agree with you 1,000%. Like, you kind of hit it on the head. So if it's something that you would do for free, keep doing it. And then, as you mentioned earlier, charge the max possible, right? Charge the max possible. One thing I learned in business is the people who pay the most usually treat you the best. Like, my best customers have been my highest paying customers. So 1,000% agree with you on that. Charge the max, man. So as we kind of bring this to a close and go, where can we find you at? Where can we connect with you to
So you can
keep up
find
with
me on
all the amazing
Instagram
stuff that
at
you have going on,
Catchngo,
man?
CATCHNGO, or my website, ngookafor.com, NGOOKAFOR.com. Or you can come to my gym in person, Iconoclast Fitness. We're right in the middle of Manhattan, 210 Fifth Avenue. We're between 25th and 26th Street on the fifth floor. Beautiful view, beautiful gym, great energy, great music. Come hang out, come learn, and get some of this passion and happiness. Let's do it.
Yeah, 100%. And now, before we end up, now it's time for our famous
Yes.
5 questions. Same 5 questions we ask every single guest. So, question number 1: what is the
Life is
most
too short.
impactful lesson you've learned in life? What is the
Grit,
most admirable trait a person can have? If you could change someone's life but only had
art
one
of
book to
war.
read, one book to recommend, which would you recommend? What is the legacy you're working on leaving
It's
behind?
very simple, truly. Pursue happiness. Like true, like pure, because there's only one. When you're happy, you know that you're truly happy. Pursue pure happiness, not money or all the stuff that covers it up. At your core, pursue happiness where you wake up and just feel light. That's
Hmm.
the goal.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today,
The first step
what is the
is to
first
take the
step you
step.
would recommend they take?
You know what I mean? The first step is to take the step.
Hey,
Do not be afraid. Do not judge it. Don't judge it. That's the biggest thing that we do as human beings. We judge everything, every step we take. Oh, but no, don't judge the step. Take the fucking step and see what happens. You're not gonna die from it. You know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm.
you will discover something. But if you don't take this step, you'll discover nothing. You'll be in the same place that you were one step ago. You know, take a step and figure it and see what happens.
Yeah, 100%. Alrighty, guys, that's it for our interview today. Thank you so much for tuning into the Walk to Wealth podcast.